What's up, guys? It's Mr. Jamvid, and today we're going to start this team building with Jam series once again. I've stopped and started this several times, but we are here today. And so, for all of you guys out there who you don't want to learn how to team build, I'm going to break everything down, literally everything down. You'll have no confusion whatsoever. And if you follow the process, you will come out the other end with a pretty solid team. Now, in order to have the team be effective, you'll need to have the skills necessary, and I'll also guide you in that direction. So it's just win-win. Win-win. I enjoy doing this, and hopefully you get some value from it. So we're gonna hop right into it. Now, a couple videos ago, I asked you guys to suggest some Pokemon, and that's how we're gonna do this. In this video, drop some Pokemon in the comment section down below that you'd like to see me build around, and I'll try to get these out just as often as possible. It might be daily as I get into the routine of things, but I won't promise daily just yet, but that's the goal. So GOODRA is the Pokemon that won, and if you look at the side of your screen, that's the 6-step team building process for Smogon. For Draft League, it's a little different. I actually had to, in doing the boot camp, I had to work with somebody who was a boot camp, who played focus on Draft League and had no Smogon experience, and so from that I had to learn how to break down the process, and so much good has come from that, and I'm really excited to share this with you. So step one when building a team, right? We already decided it's going to be GOODRA, right? So step one, identify the goal. So a team must have a goal in mind. This could be built around a particular Pokemon. In the case here, we're going to be building it around GOODRA. And for the remainder of the series, we're going to be building it around a particular Pokemon. But as we go along, then you guys can start suggesting things like Rain or just strategy. Particular strategy, which is what I just referred to, Rain, Trick Room, Tailwind, whatever, for more VGC players. Particular play style, whether you want to make an offensive team, a balanced team, a stall team, etc., etc. A goal allows you to have direction and select your team members wisely, right? So the fact that I have GOODRA on the team here pretty much signifies that, okay, it can't just be an isolated thing where I have 6 Pokemon that do nothing to assist GOODRA. We have to remember that this is a team. Team means unison, means synergy. So you can't have one. I know I tend to do it when I'm playing live. That's just because I've been doing this for long enough so I can break certain rules. But those teams aren't very good. They're just fun. And there's a difference. If you want a fun team that, if you can get a surprise win, go ahead. But if you want a serious competitive team, then follow this process, okay? So once you identify the goal, we're going to be building around GOODRA today. Now, to avoid this team building from being like 20 damn days long, this might not be the perfect team, but we're just going to roll with it for the sake of understanding the principle of it. Because if you look at step 6, you're generally going to forget something, so use the team on the ladder to see what you may be struggling with. This is a team building thing, and so in order for this team to come out in its best version, I have to do step 6, and I'm not going to do step 6 in this video. I'm going to use the team in a live tomorrow, so look forward to that. So that's where we're going to use step 6, but step 6 is very important. So pick GOODRA, right? And so you determine, okay, what do I want to do with this GOODRA, right? What the hell is this GOODRA here for? Something important I forgot to mention. In order to build a team, you have to have the main. You have to know about the 3 pillars. Primarily knowledge. So there are 3 pillars in competitive Pokemon: knowledge, skill, and awareness. Knowledge is the informational part. So knowing what a Guavaberry does, knowing what Assault Vest does, knowing what Choice Specs does, knowing what Sap Sipper does, knowing GOODRA's stats, knowing its typing, just the informational parts of Pokemon. But it also involves things like calcs. It also involves things, just anything that you can factually know, which also involves your metagame. And so the reason knowledge is so important is you cannot team build properly if you don't have knowledge of that metagame. So if you're new to a metagame, do not attempt the team building process. I would recommend that you take a team that's already tested and proven from somebody who's already played the metagame and use that team repeatedly until you get an idea of the common Pokemon that you're seeing. You can also use the viability ranking, but again, I do not recommend you trying to build a team if you have no knowledge of that metagame. So for example, I don't play a lot of RU. So no matter how good I think I am or how good anybody thinks they are, it is a bad idea to go into RU and whip together a team. Now it can function, like it's not impossible to do so, but it'll be a far simpler and easier process if you just grab somebody who already has a tested team. The only time I'd say this isn't the case is when the metagame is new, meaning like there's a new generation of something. Everybody is new, so there is no tested teams. So you just kind of roll with it and have fun. But once the metagame has been established, and if you don't know what the pillars are, the metagames are, the link is in the description down below. I highly recommend you watch those videos. Very short, but they're gonna have a lot of information that you're gonna be lost otherwise without. So I made the process very simple for you. Hopefully you take advantage of that. But yeah, back to GOODRA, right? So you can pick a set ahead of time and build around supporting that set, or you can kind of just have the thing blank like this and say, okay, well, I'm going to fill in the set based on the 5 Pokemon I pair with. I'm gonna fill in the set up front just to make this process quicker, because the other one takes a little more time. And what you need to do is when you click that Pokemon, you need to scroll through that tier. So in this case, we're going to be using GOODRA as NU by usage, which is embarrassing for a pseudo ledge, but GOODRA is NU by usage. However, we're trying to use it in the OU tier. So you have to make sure that, you know, whatever tier you're trying to use it in, that's the tier you look through. So since it's OU, I'm going to look at what GOODRA is going to be good versus offensively. Does GOODRA get a fire move? Okay, oh, I guess fire blast. Cool. I didn't remember if it got, I was like, I don't remember. And so since I'm using it offensively, I'm going to scroll through the tier and look at what GOODRA beats. This is why you need knowledge, right? You need knowledge of that metagame, because this part is going to be tricky if you don't have that. So GOODRA does not, it can KO Barraskewda, but Barraskewda is faster and likely will go for flip turn, and so you won't really get to hit Barraskewda, so I don't count that. Loses to Blissey, technically can beat Buzzwole, though Buzzwole is almost not used. It technically could beat Cinderace, but Cinderace likely beat it before GOODRA beats it, so it doesn't help there. Maybe helps with Clefable depending on the set. Can be helpful versus Corviknight depending on the set. Helpful versus Ferrothorn, that's one solid thing that it beats. Because Dragapult, if it's a special variant and we opt for Assault Vest here, then it can take on a special Dragapult. Most Dragonite don't run Assault Vest these days. I mean, don't run Dragon moves, but it's still shaky with the multi-scale plus heavy duty boot combination. So we want to look for things that GOODRA definitely has the advantage versus. The Pokemon I've gone, like, it has situational advantage. Sometimes it can beat a Cinderace. Oops. Sometimes it can beat a Cinderace. Sometimes it can beat a Clefable, but it's not in most cases going to. So we want to go for the ones that 100% you're going to have the advantage. So I guess Hydro Pump, right? Oh, that's fun. That's fun. I might use Rain with this. I might use it. Ooh, nah. Let's leave it. Let's leave it. Oh, that's spicy. That's spicy. I love, if you know me, I love using Hydro Pump on things that aren't water types. Like, that was just a fetish of mine ever, because Salamence is my favorite Pokemon, and Salamence was one of the few Pokemon that got Hydro Pump that wasn't a water type back in Gen 3. So I would always, when I learned about egging, I'd crossbreed and I'd always have a Hydro Pump Salamence. And it was nothing like Hydro Pumping Steven's Aggron. He thought he was nice. And then I just Hydro Pumped him. I think that and Lugia were the only two things I think got Hydro Pump. And remember, Hydro Pump's animation was super dope. So just reminiscing on fun times. So GOODRA definitely beats Ferrothorn with the Fire Blast. It can be Heatran, you know, if we're packing the Hydro Pump and all that fun stuff. Hydro Pump's also a fun thing for Hippowdon, Bulky Grounds. I believe GOODRA is decently fast. Like in I think it's like Mamoswine speed tier, which might end up mattering for the slower mons that like bulky landers and things like that. It definitely takes on Moltres. It's very helpful versus Nidoking. It's helpful versus Lecky. We're assuming Assault Vest here. Depending on the ability we go with, it makes you immune to Grassy Glide and all grass type moves. It's a pretty solid Coco answer. You know, even Dazzling Gleam is not going to do too much. Very solid versus Volcarona. That's one thing, GOODRA. And you want to play to that Pokemon strength. So you go through the tier, and you're like, how does Jam know? That's because I have the knowledge. That's why I recommend, before you start the team building process, please, 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 guys, nothing I say in these videos are just fluff. I want to make these videos as concise as possible. But I do get caught up in wanting to share so much stuff with you guys that I overshare. So that's why I have this 6-step process to refine that. So I'm on step 2 right now. Check what Pokemon or common strategies would stop the goal you're trying to achieve. I'm trying to figure out, well, what I'm trying to, I probably should have specified. Check what Pokemon, how you can use that Pokemon effectively, and then check what strategies. Yeah, I probably should have. Basically, I'm checking right now to see what GOODRA does and what can stop it. So GOODRA is going to be especially offensive. Is going to struggle with, like, for basically what can switch into GOODRA every time with no concern. Blissey, Mandibuzz for the most part. Slowking, Galarian form for the most part, because you know those Assault Vest ones are pesky. Pex, I'd say as well. So it actually doesn't have, like, because of its amazing coverage, it actually doesn't have too many switch-ins, but its special attack stat is so low, right? And so we're gonna go with Modest because we need as much power as possible. We have to be packing that Draco Meteor here. Now, to go into more detail on why Draco Meteor versus Hydro, if you're very new to Pokemon, competitive Pokemon, for now, I just use the rule of thumb of use first, ask questions, a lot of battles later. So use what's standardized, because again, if I try to explain all the reasons why people use Draco Meteor over Dragon Pulse and all these things, it would make the video absurdly long. I might have to make a video strictly on that, but I don't want to make this video absurdly long. And so we're gonna go with Fire Blast over Flamethrower, because versus things like Ferrothorn, Magearna, we want Okos. We want 2 KOs and Okos. So Magearna, Melmetal, I'm pretty sure a lot of those mons can take potentially 2 Flamethrowers. And this is just using my experience, my knowledge of certain calcs, that I'm just kind of going off the top of my head. I'm going to throw on Sludge Wave, and this is gonna be my just fun GOODRA set. Now, this might not be the best set, but it'll depend on what my teammates are. For example, GOODRA is very effective in taking out Volcarona, so a lot of people sometimes run Rock Slide on their GOODRA to counter Volcarona, because it's so bulky with Assault Vest that no matter what you do, it's gonna take you out. The other abilities are Hydration, which is make me want to use Rain even more, and Gooey. Gooey is actually really good, especially because not too many grass types exist, and I don't need the attack boost. Now it would make it for that to where Ferrothorn cannot Leech Seed, so GOODRA is an effective switch in blocking Leech Seed, and it also prevents Grassy Gliding. Well, Gooey could come into play in like a late game situation, where, you know, let's say that the Cinderace is gonna sweep you, right? And you want to lower its speed. You switch GOODRA in on a high jump kick. It hits you with the Gooey, and then boom. Or, you know, a Rapid Strike. If it actually with Rapid Strike, if it Water Shurikens, I think Gooey drops its speed every time. Though you probably will only need one speed drop, but you know, just things like those. Or Barraskewda, as we talked about, you know, if it decides to late game sweep, you can, you know, Gooey and all that stuff. So I'm gonna go with Sapsipper for now. I'm gonna make this Assault Vest. Goodra has access to a lot of moves. Like, this is just so, it gets every move. It's like the poor man's Dragonite, or more special attack, you know. Let me see what the speed tier is. 259. And so I'm determining, okay, I'm looking at the tier and like, what relevant Pokemon do I want to outspeed, right? I'd like to outpace, because when you do this, you check speed tiers, which is something that in doing the bootcamp thing again, I realized, oh dang, not everybody knows what speed tiers are. So if you have any question, leave it in the description down below so I can get better and better at these. Rather than me trying to perfect it in one episode, I'm just going to do them, take feedback, do them, take feedback, do them, take feedback, do them, take feedback, and it helps me learn how to explain these things to you better. Okay? Hopefully that works out. I'm just excited to click Hydro Pump. Honestly, I'm low-key wants to make this a rain team so that Goodra's Hydro is stab. But I really don't need the stab to get the damage I need, you know what I mean? Don't need the stab. But it would be so fun. So we're gonna leave it there for now. I'm going to put it just above Crawdaunt, something like Crawdaunt, and pump the rest in HP, right? Could put it in special defense as well. Well, Goodra, its defense is pretty crap. For how? Why is it so? His attack is solid, right? Yeah, his attack is base 100. Yeah. Because I'm like, why is his defense so garbage? We're gonna leave that as the spread for now. And the logic of the spread is here: you run enough speed to outspeed the relevant things that you're hoping to be matched up with. So for example, I don't need any speed investment to, you know, outspeed something along the lines of Clefable or Ferrothorn or Heatran or Hippowdon. So a lot of the things that is on the team to take on aren't fast, so I don't need a lot of speed investment. So if I don't need the speed investment, then I won't waste it in speed when I can use it in allowing it to survive more, and I have more bulk. And look at that special defense stat with Assault Vest. With HP, it's just going to be a menace. It's going to be an absolute menace. So great stuff there. So now that we've realized, this is where we go to this is the real step 2, right? What are some obstacles to Goodra getting work done, right? You know, we talked about Blissey. Blissey's gonna generally just hard wall Goodra under any circumstance. Mandibuzz, for the most part, is gonna wall Goodra, and Slowking Galar. So this is a very much a rough draft situation. You want to kind of rough draft this part. and then test and learn. Because what I've used to do and what I find with newer players is you want the team to be so perfect, you want to consider every single thing first, that sometimes you don't ever leave the team builder, you never publish the team. So in order to make sure that the team is published, meaning you actually load up a game and use it down the ladder, because losing is good and those losses are going to help you make a better team. So it is important as a hacker, and a hacker is just simply a gamer that loves to improve. As a hacker, you have to know that losing is good. Hackers never, well, I shouldn't say never lose. Hackers always win. Even if you lose the game, you win, because there's valuable information in that. So a hacker always wins. Never forget that. And so once you have that in your mind, you can always know what the solution is. So I'm like, okay, feeling nervous. Oh, but I always win. I either win the game, or if I lose the game, I get the valuable information from the game from reviewing it. So I always win. I get better or I win. Win, improve. So you can't lose. You always win. So never forget that, please. If there's nothing else from this video, a hacker always wins. So in knowing that you always win, you have nothing to fear, right? And this is, you're still going to feel that feeling of, oh, I don't want to mess up. But that's something that you've practiced, and that's a perception you've practiced. And over time, I just say, keep showing up, keep finding a battle, keep finding a battle. And this is like anything, right? If you keep doing it over time, and there are scientific reasons for this, but over time, you're going to eventually become the type of player who doesn't fear losses. And from the hundreds of people I've helped, one of the number one things most recently, since I've started kind of talking on this subject in particular, is players have been experiencing rapid growth because they've let go of the attachment to their points. Like, they're not defining their worth based on their win and loss. Feels good to win, but if you lose, you're not feeling like absolute crap. You understand, oh, I'm about to get better. And so the biggest thing I've seen really help players break through is that. And once that happens, everything else comes. But I'm gonna keep talking about that in every video until it's like you can't, until you're sick of it, because it's so important. And I really hope that you guys take that and really use it, because you don't understand how important that is. But kind of back into the team thing. Now, we've identified Blissey, Mandibuzz, and Slowking Galar to be, I'd say, pretty much all-purpose. No matter what they can switch in, they're counters. No matter what, they switch in and pretty much beat GOODRA one-on-one. You could run something like Thunder, which would help versus Mandibuzz, but that's low accuracy and it's specifically for Mandibuzz. And you lose a bit of coverage on other things. It helps with Pex. Actually, Pex is another thing that beats this particular set. So you could remove Hydro Pump or Sludge Wave, and you're gonna, whatever you remove is what you're gonna struggle with. So if I took Sludge Wave off, I'm gonna struggle with Clef, but it's gonna help more with Pex. If I remove Hydro Pump, I'm gonna struggle more with Heatran and and ground types, but I'm gonna be better depending on what I put there. If I put Thunder, it would be better versus Pex and Mandy. So what will decide what you switch out is what your team members are. And so I'm choosing to have Blissey, Slowking Galar, Toxapex. So 2 poison types: Slowking Galar, Toxapex, Blissey, Mandibuzz. So if I'm gonna be inviting Slowking Galar in a lot, what are some things that I want to? What are some Pokemon that do well versus that particular Pokemon? Right? What can I? How can I take advantage of all the Slowking Galars that I'm going to be inviting in? Right? So we've done step 2. Now we're doing step 3. Identify what Pokemon and strategy can aid in removing or stopping most of all of these blockers to your goal. So how can I, in layman terms, fix this issue? How can I solve the problem of Slowking Galar? There are multitudes of ways to do it. But I'm gonna just throw together a rough draft. So if I'm like, okay, Slowking Galar, GOODRA is gonna come in. I'm gonna likely, maybe Draco him. You can also run EQ, mixed GOODRA to, maybe to a kill Slowking Galar while still hitting Heatran. And again, you can do a multitude of things. I'll leave that up to you. I'm trying to think how I want to show up versus those Pokemon. Slowking Galar, Blissey, Toxapex, and Mandibuzz. So many options. And it's not a one Pokemon fix all your problems kind of thing. It's more of a team thing. But okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna teach you guys in the core principle, meaning I'm gonna split this team in half because I think it'll speed this process up a lot more, and it'll help beginners. I should have said this in the beginning. I'm gonna create 3 Pokemon that are the goal is to take a lot of value from the opponent. And that's known as an offensive core, and I'm gonna have 3 more defensive Pokemon, which is their goal is to prevent the opponent from taking a lot of value from me, which is called a defensive core. And so what offensively supports GOODRA? Well, given the Pokemon that we just mentioned, I'd say Tapu Lele, just off the top of my head. Again, there's no perfect yada yada yada. We've gone over this a million times. The reason I said Tapu Lele is if we notice we mentioned Slowking Galar, which Psych Shock can destroy, Blissey, which Psy Shock can destroy, Toxapex, which Psy Kick can destroy, Mandibuzz, which gets dropped by Moonblast. So Lele puts a lot of pressure on those Pokemon after GOODRA has invited them in, and because a lot of times GOODRA will force them to have to heal. If it Draco's Mandibuzz have to roost afterwards. If Blissey maybe doesn't have to heal, Pex sometimes has to heal depending on the situation. But Lele, it's about time people started to realize that Lele is a threat. It hasn't changed, but New Toy Syndrome had Lele in the back for a little bit, but now Lele is getting the respect it always had to me. And so we're gonna just put in a generic set. Generally you're not even gonna use your Focus Blast, but I'll put it there because it's the best coverage. Celesteela is no longer really a thing. Corviknight is not as used. And so that's part 2 of our offensive core. So once you have the 2 first members, you decide, okay, well, what destroys both these mons? What can counter both of these? Nothing in and of itself. I'd say Magearna could be annoying, very, very annoying for these 2. Mind you, your offensive core is supposed to be taking value from the opponent. And so just off the top of my head, I'm going to throw, let me think, Safeguard Volt, no. The defensive core is responsible for taking the hits. The offensive core is responsible for dishing out the hits. So let's see, Cinderace versus. So I'm gonna just use something fun here. As I said, step 6. Because actually, I forgot to mention, I'm at step 4 now. I'm starting to put together a rough draft to avoid being trapped in perfection paralysis, which is never completing it because you want it to be perfect. So if I were to sit here and consider every possible thing, which you can do, it would take forever to build this team. So I'm just going to put a rough draft situation. I'm gonna use Adamant Cinderace, and because we're rocking Psychic Terrain, I'm gonna put less emphasis on Sucker Punch, and I'll have it have Gunk Shot is really nice for like Finny's back in the tier. Finny and Moltres. Because it doesn't use contact. It doesn't contact things like Zapdos as well. And it provides like a little bit of something versus Slowbro, but it's mostly for the non-contact. A Zen Headbutt with Psychic Terrain obviously allows for you to not be countered by Pex, which is probably the best in the race counter. And these two working together, U-turn could work too. Obviously you could U-turn out on the Pex and go into Lele. Thing with that is, a lot of Pex run Rocky Helmet, and so if you're figuring he's gonna go to the Pex anyway, you could double switch, or you could just have Psychic Terrain up and Zen Headbutt. And since you're forcing him to recover after the first Zen Headbutt, or he's gonna get 2 KO'd, you can just go back to Lele on that turn. But I don't want to get too much into battle theory. There are no high expectations here, guys. Like, there's so much I want to share with you guys, but yeah. So this is gonna be our rough draft offensive core. I'm sure there are flaws here, blah blah blah. Your offensive core is not supposed to counter everything. This is a misconception I see all the time. But Jim, those 3 Pokemon are weak to ground. That's fine, because their job is not to switch in. GOODRA is a mid-ground of that, but their job is to dish damage out. Their damage is to take value, my guys, not to take hits. So that's how an offensive core works. Now, in order to protect these Pokemon, we're gonna have the defensive, the defense. If you're a soccer fan, well, Liverpool isn't doing as amazingly this season, but this is the Virgil van Dijk of the crew in the back. You feel me? So a quick core I'll put together. Like, immediately I notice, okay, pretty ghost susceptible, we're pretty ground susceptible. No hazard control, though it's kind of nice, but not. So let's just use a quick. Let's use Mandibuzz. Covers ground. Covers the ghost. Because it helps with Gyropolt, which would give this a big, like a physical Gyropolt. Even a special one would give this a lot of trouble. Mandibuzz Mandibuzz weak to electric and kind of electric susceptible. Still need a ground. For the sake of ease, just in case you guys want to use this team, I'm gonna give y'all a Lando there. That's gonna be a Rocker, Pivot, Fog, Defog, Doom, and then some kind of so this core, you want to check what your defensive core is susceptible to. Right now it's like Mad Ice Weak. In fact, this team is just Mad Ice Weak. I could do that, I guess. Let me see. Let's just couple ways to go about this. But I'm getting stuck in perfection paralysis. So I'd do Spectre gone. I think it can do it again, and I can bear without a hard ghost immunity. I mean a straight up ghost resist. So what I'm thinking is putting Corv, because that gives me better fairy resistance. It also gives you a straight up Specs Curum. I don't call it a counter because I've seen it being used wrong. But a Spadef Corviknight would allow you at full to beat any Curum unless you don't get frozen. As long as you don't get frozen, you easily take 2 and then you pressure stall. It also allows you to pressure stall out Shadow Balls from Dragapult. Assists with Magearna. Because I'm also thinking here, probably doing It's like, just throw something on here, like a Toxapex or something. Um, just kind of as a, okay, we're gonna get this party started and get this rolling without taking forever to create this. Um, and so with every first draft, it's gonna have a hole somewhere in there. And this is what step 6 does. You're generally going to forget something. So use the team on the ladder and see what you may be struggling with. So that this video doesn't go to an hour long, and I've really been fighting to avoid that. I know it's a bit all over the place. I'm just gonna slot in a moveset here. I think Brave Bird is relevant again with is Brave Bird better than Iron? Brave Bird is still nice. There are a couple of things you can still Brave Bird. Iron Head is cool too. Because remember back in pre-Isle of Armor, Iron Head Corviknight was pretty much the more dominant of the two. There are a couple options here. You can use U-turn to invite the Lele's and whatnot. This is a basic. Again, to avoid staying on this too long. And so Lando, we could play around. Since Pex is likely going to be Rocky Helmet, I don't feel the need to Rocky on Lando too. Lando is more of a defensive pivot, and it helps a lot with your here we go, sorry, it helps a bit with no, I'll still keep it defensive. It could, with this team structure, because GOODRA is half defensive, half offensive. You could be a little more lenient with Lando, because Corviknight plus Pex is such a good core in and of itself. Obviously you could play around and have damn Hippowdon there. You could have insert ground there, Swampert. Obviously that would change a few more things, but I know some people are gonna want to use this, and for the ease of use, because I find that people don't generally know how to properly use Hippowdon, which is actually very easy to use, but in order to use it, you need to have an understanding of value, and so Lando's just an easier Pokemon, and I want this team to be easy to use, like not too much thinking required beyond a certain point. Like you go Lele strong hit, you go Cinderace strong hit, while being able to utilize GOODRA, you know what I mean? And as we go along in the series, I'll add a little more nuance. But what I really don't want is a situation where I don't even remember the role. We're just gonna max it out. That does not mean that's the best spread. But you don't want to be focused too much on perfection, as I've said 100 times, and I'm gonna keep saying it. You could use toxic spikes here too, but we're gonna opt for toxic. Too many poison types in the tier. Well, actually not that many, but Slowking Galar is pretty decent in usage. Pex is pretty solid in usage, and Nidoking, and so much boots users. I'd rather just y'all have toxic and have that option. Haze is an option too, all that fun stuff. Remember, you're never gonna remember all the things. I'm gonna put you guys above Modest, Specs, Magearna, and then pump the rest in defense, so that it's just a little bulkier, because you may want to have a situation where you want it to be able to take on something like Cinderace on a pivot, You want it to take on, there's so many things that overlap with talk specs, but I don't see too much benefit, and this is just my overall kind of insight from doing this for a while. There's not too much benefit in making it offensive. Lander is a good mid-ground mon, and Stone Age and Earthquake don't need a lot of attack to 2-hit KO the things you'll need, or OHKO the things you'll need. And if I max out its attack, a lot of the things that you're gonna be OHKOing, you already probably OHKO'd. So you don't pick up any major kills. Maybe versus like a bulky Magirna, but you know, that's about it. So that's the team for now. This is what we're gonna hop on the ladder and use. Oh man, I tried to keep this. I was like thinking 20 minutes, but there's just so much that goes into a team building process. But as long as you follow these steps, specifically step 6, and then you remember, just if you don't take anything from this video, because you can play this as fast or as slow as you want. If you don't take anything from this video, this team building format thing will be in the description. So use that, follow that 6-step process. Let me know your thoughts, and remember, this is probably the biggest thing once you get to step 6. Hackers always win. You can never lose. You either win or you learn. Either win or you learn, and you always win. And once you understand that, if you lose 3 games in a row, you'll understand that, oh great, those are learning experiences, because I have to lose to get better. I have to lose to know what's wrong with the team. So understand that that's a part of the process, and please do not then get discouraged and think that because you lose you'll never be good, because the thoughts will come. If that part of it gets really overwhelming, because I just know how important this part of it is, please watch the mindset playlist. That has transformed every top player in the academy, and that series has cost her more breakthroughs than anything else. So I would not suggest this as something to just watch or get me views or to waste your time. Those are my least viewed videos, but they're the most important. So please, if you're getting discouraged, check those out. Please do not take that lightly. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, and leave in the description, in the comment section down below, the Pokemon you want me to build around next, and ways that this can be improved. What's a bit confusing? Tell me all. I promise my feelings won't get hurt. Thanks, and I'll be using the scene tomorrow. So subscribe if you want to see that, and see you next time.